Hello, my name is Daehyeon Kang, and I'll be presenting the paper called Foundations for Esports Curricula in Higher Education. Before I start, I would like to inform everyone that this paper was 25 pages long, and to explain everything in great detail would take me longer than the time allocated for me. Thus, I will go over the main points, and if you are interested in how they reach these points, please reference the paper. Here are the contents. There are four objectives the authors wanted to achieve, which splits into four stages. The first stage of the project involved initial discussions to orient the research as well as to clarify scope and objectives of esports. The second stage of the work established the background and context so that an understanding of the esports sector could be shared with us. The third stage of the project involved a survey of the career trajectories currently available in the esports industry and a survey of existing provisions for esports education. Finally, the fourth stage of the project was the formation of the curricula framework. So, what is esports? The authors state that there is a lot of debate on what esports is. Some say it is already a form of sports. Some say it is a phenomenon that is experiencing sportification. Some also say that it isn't a sport, but will become one in the future. With such conflicting views, the authors place emphasis on different points of view, such such as it is an established culture of competitive play and spectatorship, the act of live streaming competitive play, and the inherently capitalist nature of esports. This perspective, the authors in this paper like to think of esports as a socio-cultural phenomenon rooted in sports, media, entertainment, and culture, but emerged in a digitized environment. This perspective helps to explain why so many competitive digital games are not considered esports, like Let's Plays, speedruns, or record games. Now, why is it important to implement esports into higher education curricula? The authors state that more recently, the esports culture has grown considerably in importance in two key respects: cultural respect and economics respect. In the cultural respect, platform infrastructure and multimedia streaming technologies have all matured and become widely adopted. And these phenomena was influencing the younger generation as we speak in many regions. In the economical respect, there is a global audience of 380 million this year, with 165 million of them tuning in multiple times during the week. There has also been surveys that reported that the global esports revenue surpassed $24.9 billion in 2019. With so many now engaging with esports through these and other contexts, a relatively high number of people are expressing interest in the career opportunities that it presents. Next, the authors lay out the phases of esports and what the history of esports was. They state that there are three waves of esports. The game wave, which is dominated by amateur and enthusiast communities that love that play for the love of playing the games themselves. The sports wave, which is the start of institutionalization and professionalization of gameplay, the development of translocal rule sets, and the normalization of legitimate organized competitions. Then finally, the media entertainment wave, where the refinement of media production and distribution methods as tournaments became entertainment events. With this, they discuss which genres should be considered esports. According to the EEDAR Esports Consumer Analysis White Paper, there are three main genres and other genres. The three main genres are are multiplayer online battle arena or MOBA. These are third-person action titles in which two teams lay siege to opposing fortifications while defending their own. Then there's shooters. Esports in this genre have a very simple concept. Players must eliminate their opponents using the weapons at their disposal, normally firearms and other ballistic weapons. Then finally, there are fighter genres. The fighter genre involves two players facing each other in virtual hand-to-hand martial arts. The other genres comprise of real-time strategy. This genre concerns military strategy simulations played in real time by two or more players who use a third person top down interface to build and command units and structures to establish territorial control of a bounded area. Then there are card battles. These are collectible card games where two players duel one another, each using their own pre-assembled decks of cards which they play in turn. Then there are sports simulations, and these titles strive to simulate aspects of the traditional sports. Then there are miscellaneous. Some esports seem to elude classification. One of the key examples is Rocket League. As you can see in the picture, Rocket League is basically soccer, but you're playing with as a car. So does it fit the racing model or is it a sports model? This picture is what the previous categorization of career pathways in the field of esports. However, the authors state that this can be further split and or doesn't have certain fields that are included as well. So the author split this into 8 groups. While the focus is on the players themselves, there are a lot of surrounding parts that make sure everything goes smoothly. The first one is performance and health management. Like other sports, it is essential that players are taken care of and have a good team behind them to teach them what they lack. And this is the careers that fit into this category. The second one is esport and organization management. This includes the backbone of the organization, such as executive officers and scouts. Next is broadcast management. These careers, these are careers that make sure all broadcasts run smoothly and is enjoyable for the viewers. Fourth would be information technology. The quality of these events depend largely on highly technical skills from the information and technology professions, such as network architects and systems engineers. The fifth is communication and marketing. These are basically the hype boys of this field. They make sure that any event or organization has a lot of influence and marketing image to bring in more fans. The sixth is education. This is the career path that try to bring esports into academic programs. And our professor, as well as this class, would fit into this category. The second to last is support functions and services. There are, of course, many products and services which esports companies need to procure and maintain to conduct business. And finally, esports development and maintenance. This is the most hot needs in the field of esports. It contains analysts, programmers, and balancing managers. With so many categorizations, there are bound to be even more specialist focused careers, as you can see in this photo. But what are the industry needs, since that will determine what we need to focus on the most? It turns out that esports development and maintenance needs tower over any other categorization in this field. This means that the general curricula should focus on skills that will help specialize this side more than other categories. Now, before we start with creating the framework, the authors address the challenges that we should consider when creating a framework, which is split into 6 sections. The first is graduateness, which is how well graduates can get into these careers by taking our curriculum. The problem is that the career field is so robust, it is hard to generalize what we should teach. The second is career readiness. This is how well graduates can do if they do not go into esports and pursue other careers. The third is gambling and addiction. The public view of gaming has majorly been negative in the public's eyes, and the growing number of gambling sites for esports is not helping this either. The next is health and well-being. The health and well-being of players is important, but most public notions have skepticism that there are any physical strains of players in esports. Then there is reception and regularization. Those who play and watch esports may not necessarily see it as a national pursuit in the same way traditional sports and Olympic events often are. So when their country's team play in an international venue, they might have less of an impact than maybe when they watch Olympics. Finally, diversity and inclusion. It seems as though the majority of esports community are middle-aged males and are skewed to one gender and age. So how are we going to include everyone into this field? With that, we can get into the curriculum design. Referencing the industry needs, the authors state that there are general level basics that all esports fields should have, which are computing engineering, computer science, cybersecurity, information systems, information technology, and software engineering. They also emphasize that there should be programs for mentors from the esports industry that lead or supervise the projects. This allows the uh, it helps expose students to real world challenges and scenarios and provide students with the opportunity to utilize their knowledge. Then the authors give us the subject area requirements, which means that any course that we put into our curricula should meet these requirements. They are learning design, legitimacy, institutional context and values, credential, credentialing, and transferability. One early and outstanding questions for the future of esports education is to what extent a broadly generic or a highly specialized curriculum would be ideal? How can we meet the requirements but still be generic enough to fit all pathways? How do we make sure graduates can be considered specialists in a certain field? As you can see in the Venn diagram, all these three things are important in the field of esports, but not all of them overlap that much. That is how they decided that a hub and spokes framework would be the best. The hub should incorporate a core set of transferable skills, including those concerned with graduateness. This includes esports contexts such as esports ecosystems, values, and ethics. Then it should contain graduate skills that are good for all careers and can translate into other fields outside of esports. Then finally, course for disciplinary specialism so the students can experience a wide range of pathways and decide later on what they want to specialize in. As for the spokes, there are 7 types of spokes that the authors categorize. The first is data analysis, the need to analyze data for a variety of purposes, such as match analysis, consumer engagement, user behavior tracking, and so on. And this is the most basic and the most needed in this field. Then is content creation and streaming. This is usually the spotlight of the field, such as players, casters, and streamers. However, this field is usually hard to get into unless you already have industry experience. Then it is coding and technological competency. These are the most important and the most needed in the industry, as you saw. The fourth is performance, health, and well-being promotion. The need for maintaining the mental and physical well-being of esports athletes is comparable to that of any other sports given its relative size, and this has been proven by other studies. Next is marketing and branding. Without these careers, no one would know when or how to watch their favorite games. The sixth is community management. These these cares are like these careers are like the airbags of the field. They take the blow of all controversies and mitigate them so brands or events are shown in a good light. Finally, it is event planning and management. Event planning and management is necessary in cases where a physical or digital space must be constructed and organized for a smooth running of an esports event. With all this out of the way, the final question is how to integrate this into higher education. There isn't a need for esports to be a major. Instead, it could be a smaller part of electives, for example, in the computer science program. Thus, the authors endorse two potential approaches. The first approach is the hub and spokes model. It is a curriculum with a common spine made up of transferable and esports generic competencies that further specializes into a specific disciplinary competency. Or the only the hub model, which takes an existing major degree in a non-esports subject and adds elements of the common spine using the esports hub. In summary, this paper illustrates a notion of esports, laying the foundation for a framework that will support the design of esports curricula at higher education institutions. And it shows an analysis of esports careers is then presented, uh, illustrating several career pathways with demand from the esports industry. Insight into esports education and some consideration for the design of the curriculum, and much of the framework proposed by the authors and the analysis its members conducted became focused on untangling exactly what constitutes the esports industry and esports itself as a subject area. Thank you, and this is the end of my presentation.